Alright guys, so we've got another Legacy Deathmatch cast here between Nakamura and Magic. So Magic on Zeus, Nakamura on Thor. Already going for that armory, the perk of Thor. Really nice because you can start working towards Heroic immediately from Archaic. Most the other civs have to fuck around in Classical, making sure they've got 3 villages on the armory immediately. And Magic only going for 1 because he wants to get more pop. Get some more buildings out, so he's got military academies here. Nothing else at the moment, but being Zeus, he's got extra hardy hoplites, extra better against buildings, against infantry, against archers. Units they're normally not so great against. Nakamura in the meanwhile, fairly nice, aggressive longhouse placement, going to be able to defend his town center there and his rear side town center. Also in quite a nice spot because he really only just needs to wall this and only just needs to worry about siege sitting in this little pocket to break through it. So Nakamura in a real healthy spot with his age ups, market on the way, halfway done versus only a quarter of the way done with 2 villages instead of 1 for Magic, but Magic gonna be able to try and secure his forward town center and wall up. Nakamura not looking to really push with the Frost Giant just yet. He's left a little gate passage here because he's gonna need it. He's not left a lot of room to actually get out of here. And this initial longhouse, not even bothering to repair it yet. He's just worrying about getting the settlement up because it will provide some nice cover for his units. So Magic really looking to pressure Nakamura, who's just using the Dalks to deny a bit of build time, prevent some nice defensive use of the walls and some more buildings going up. The town center there for Magic's not really being built yet. Meanwhile, he's really pressuring Nakamura here. Be able to get a couple of structures and really position himself to tear down the settlement. Nice use of the bulk power there to focus down the Frost Giant. So now Magic going to go for the 3rd town center, and he's going to be able to deny Nakamura's. He's going to try and hill fort, but I do like these chokes because the Norse player, he does get the hill forts up in time, does have a nice advantage, and that's a very early but quite a good use of the resto power here from Magic because he's really able to sustain this push, keep some more buildings falling, even keep pushing into throwing Axeman Ulfsark, which really probably should just beat mass hoplite because hoplites are really only being supported by a single Manticore at the moment, and that's Magic's entire army. But Nakamura with Raider and Ulfsark probably needs to get a few more throwing axemen in the mix, I think. Adding some Jarls as well. So really nice use of the Medusa from Magic. But ooh, Nakamura's managed to really deny Magic's 3rd town center and really securing this position because the guard tower is not quite finished yet. It will finish up. Ooh, maybe not just yet. Nakamura looking to creep forward with some walls. Wants to be able to make sure he can defend his market line and cover for his aggressive town center. And for now it looks like he's in the clear. He's pushing Magic back out of his base, Magic having already started his market. Now Nakamura again able to push forward a little bit. Magic, sorry, able to push forward a little bit. There's again pretty much mass hoplites at this point. But now he's added in a couple of Helepolis. Look at chipping down the bases between that and the myth units, hopefully buying himself a bit of breathing room so that this mass of hoplites can take on a bit of a smaller and less mixed Norse army, because Nakamura, nice mixed composition here. Magic finding out Nakamura's not going to make it easy to get into his base. And so Magic having to back off a little bit. And he's still sticking with Hoplite only at the moment. The push is going quite well for him. But yeah, Nakamura, now that he's got quite a good count of throwing axemen with his mixed infantry, well, mixed melee front line, he can really do quite well here, I think. Those hoplites, the Zeus hoplites with their bonus armor and damage, I think that's what they get. Quite phenomenal, really. Don't need a lot of supporting units. But I do think Magic either needs to use some of these hoplites to harass around the map and try and bust through some of these walls, because I mean, while yes they are a nice generalist unit for Zeus, you probably want some Toxotes maybe to bring down these throwing axemen a little bit quicker. So Nakamura using the forest fire there, he's going to be able to once again deny Magic's third town center from going up. He's now actually able to look at getting his own, but his second town center, the one that was quite safe, is now not going to be so. With the pair of Helepolis looking to trade through his base. And Magic with a really nice lightning storm there, because he kills a lot of Nakamura's army. He's going to be able to clean up the rest of this force with ease, I think. Just outnumbers it so much. Both players are maxed out behind this, and they still have a little bit in the bank. And Magic now, with his Underworld Passage, going to really be able to interrupt Nakamura's market line. Some Helepolis in the mix, but Nakamura already has some of the dwarves coming in just to try and pick him off. One of them is going to go down there. That's a lot of hoplites to try and take down the town center. Meanwhile, Nakamura has used Frost and Fimbulwilder, so all these units in the middle here unable to get on the Underworld Passage and actually come through and clean up Nakamura's base. So Magic's sort of all-in play here, then countered, and the Fimbulwilder denying other god powers coming up, even though Magic's used everything. It really interrupts the eco a little bit. Magic's now able to filter some more units through the passage. Ooh, it does go down though. But he may just have enough to pick off Nakamura's second town center here. Ooh, it's going to come down to the wire. Ooh, and the settlement does fall. But bearing in mind Nakamura has finished up this town center. Magic now going to get on his third town center. But he's only going to be briefly quicker than Nakamura, considering how many infantry going to be able to put up another town center here. The side building here for Magic is quite interesting. I don't know if it's going to be of a huge value for him, other than sort of keeping the army, well, the rest of the army busy here. But a lot of them are going to be used to force up the settlement, and Magic trying to raid Nakamura. He's having to turn around because Naka's already brought most of the army back. Try and clean this up. Ooh, Odysseus. Nice that he managed to sneak in through the passage before it went down, because he's really able to deny gold mines if he's put in the right spot. So Magic's even going to try and put him just outside the tower range, still on the gold mine. Impressive stuff, making every unit count as much as he can, which is important, especially when you get to this level of play. So Nakamura cleaning up Magic's side building, proxy building, but he's having to escape another gold mine because this pesky Odysseus so Magic having to back off a little bit. He's got Bellerophon and Manticore, but otherwise still basically just hoplites. Oh, here we go. He's got some Myrmidons and some Toxotes in the mix, really switching up the composition now. So throwing Axeman versus Odysseus. I think it really goes Odysseus' way, but he's really quite low, but not low enough. So he's going to continue to be a bit of a pest here because this stops the caravans from working properly. Nakamura's market line going to be interrupted. He's going to have to manually re-rally his caravans while this fight's going on in order to maintain the gathering out of them and send back a throwing axeman or two, maybe two this time, to clean up Odysseus, even though he's quite low. So we saw how it went last time for him. And now Nakamura having to back off a little bit because now that the Greek players mixed up the army a little bit, I think he's really able to push the Norse player. But in saying that, Magic really unable to make sure this third town center goes up. Nakamura, wonderful stuff, continuing to harass around the map, deny the third town center. But Odysseus, ever the pain in the ass. A lot of range there for a Zeus player, but that's a lot of throwing axemen on his doorstep. So Nakamura with a pretty scary death ball. And Magic this time trying with a backline of units his God doesn't really focus around. I mean, hoplites are good in any case. I mean, not hoplites, sorry, Toxotes. And now there's some Hypaspis coming out, so Zeus, really good infantry line, particularly hoplites, but Hypaspis as well. A lot of static defense to slow this push down, but there's plenty of units to keep the buildings from staying up. And Odysseus still proving to get his money's worth. Some of these caravans are so low. Nakamura continuing to push units, continuing to deny the third settlement there for Magic, but Magic's eco, other than being a bit short on food, is looking pretty good at the moment. I think this progress bar is broken. Saying that, he is going to need to get a bit more food because he doesn't have a huge amount of a front line left at this stage, and the villagers need to repair the fortress because it is going to fall now. So Magic really forced back to Toon Town Center position, and Odysseus finally being cleaned up, picking up a second caravan, and I mean he de-rallied a few of them as well. A lot of the caravans are quite low, so if Magic does manage to get back on that market line at some point, although Nakamura has not made it easy with this many walls, if that market line ever gets interrupted again, a few more of the caravans are surely going to fall. So great for Magic to chip away at them, but right now he's going to struggle to produce enough hoplites because there is still plenty of Jarls and Raiders in the front line here, and as much as he wants Toxotes to clean up the back line, all those juicy throwing axemen, he does need to be able to get there and survive long enough to get on them. Dissuade the Norse player from really producing so much of a front line that your own back line just can't do anything. Nakamura has a nice healthy score lead at the moment, but Magic setting up to take the settlement for the 4th or 5th time. Magic trying to split up his forces to defend under his towers as best as he can at the moment, but Nakamura now has so many frost giants. This continual fighting has just trickled so much favour for him. I mean, Norse really needed this mechanic because it's very slow getting their economy going in any format. People might think, oh well, 2 specialist types of villagers, but they're fucking useless when they're gathering the resource they're not specialised in, and you've got to do it in early stages of the game. And the Mithril Horseshoes picked up, which I guess is quite good for Naka, considering he's got this many Jarls and starting to add a couple of Raiders as well, just because how many Toxotes Magic's relying on at the moment. Magic having to delay the settlement in favour of getting more guard towers, and doing so, he's still stuck at this population disparity, which even though he's Greeks and they've got great per pop value, it's hurting him. He's down by that 20 pop against the Norse player. Nakamura's economy is, yeah, really quite stabilised for a Norse player. And Magic doesn't have a huge amount in the bank. I mean, Nakamura is still struggling for wood a little bit at the moment, but he's got plenty of food, a little bit more gold than his opponent as well. So he can look at throwing down buildings once he fixes up that wood problem. Magic able to max out here. He was struggling to get past that 115 pop mark for a little while there, but now things are looking a little bit nicer. Medusa in the mix, really able to take down high value units like the Colossus there. Like the Frost Giant there, very, very handy to have. And she's chasing another one. Here we go, another Frost Giant going down, but so will Medusa. So Magic seems to be repelling Nakamura now. It's been a good couple of minutes since he was really pushing into Nakamura's base. The score lead down to only about 700 points from about 1,000. Magic even able to start walling up now and convincing Nakamura that he needs to get a lot of siege. But 6 Fenris Wolfbrood. These guys should have a nice amount of damage considering there's that many of them. So their damage increases depending on how many of them sit in an area. So right now they're bouncing between 36 and 27 damage. So they're worth quite a lot if they can enter a fight without really being picked off. And Nakamura is just sort of waiting for the opportunity to use them. Figuring out which segment of wall he wants to maybe focus first. Whether or not he wants to use them here. But seeing the Magic's walled up so heavily and is really gonna secure the settlement now. He's got that many towers on it. Nakamura's now thinking, ooh, do I just go for the gate? Because bearing in mind, with this many of these guys stacked up here, they will perform like siege units. Although it's an expensive army. It's a pop expensive army. But they will punch quite well above their weight as well. But Magic, perfect units to deal with this because you're going to be able to freeze one of the wolves straight away with the Medusa. Odysseus is going to make it very hard for them to stick around, but they will still be able to deal about 30 damage. Going to be able to pick off all these donkey caravans. So Magic, I'm going to try and defend and push at the same time, but he's closed the score gap to about 550 points. He does have a lot to defend. His third town center now, it still hasn't quite finished up, and I mean if the ballista gets a little bit close to the wall, it can bring it down, but it's not going to make it. Nakamura really messing with Magic's market line, but I don't know if this has paid off, because bearing in mind these Fenris Wolfbrood are quite expensive, and now they've all fallen. A single Medusa and Odysseus was enough to clean this up. Nakamura probably could do with cancelling that hill fort, because I mean, that is 250 wood in the bank and he doesn't have any wood. So he's really going for a food gold eco here against Magic, who both our players going to side build now. A lot of villagers on the move. The Great Migration. I suppose they're going down here to gather all the wood, gather some of the food maybe. And Nakamura needs to get gathering quick because Magic's now in a dominant position, I think. He's got a bit more ease spending resources evenly here. And Nakamura is a bit more successful in the side building here. Magic's now forced to try and put a second or third layer of walls up here. But Magic able to really expose Nakamura's town center here. He's been having a go at this all game. But he's also largely been on his own doorstep, having to try and wall up and re-fort, re-tower. Oh, it really is a long game. I thought the progress bar was stuck. So now, Magic in the dominant position score-wise. Really aggressive fortress on Nakamura's doorstep. Side building. Now not going so well for Nakamura. Earlier, it was going great, but now he's focusing down an elephant, losing his Ulf's Arc. This hill fort is going to get cleaned up, I think. Odysseus, real veteran this war. Magic is now going to lose that Medusa, I believe. So there's a lot of Jarl and even a Perseer on tail. But, I mean, he's put a bit of good pressure on now and he's really started to wall up. He hasn't had the beauty of being able to sneak in a nice set of defenses behind this at any point in the game till now. He's cleaned up Nakamura's side building, so this is sort of the first time Magic really looks to be in quite a dominant position, I think. And Nakamura continuing to creep forward with the walls, which is good for him because it just always proves to be a pest for your opponent, delays their ability to get on your market line. And from here, Magic is going to have to back off. Nakamura taking the score advantage once again. And that wall off finishing up just in time to be a pest for Magic. Give Nakamura the space, the breathing room he needs to figure out what comp he needs to get, how much he needs just to deal with this force. And keeps Magic from interrupting any of the economy. Likewise, Magic really starting to push forward with his own walls. So we're going into the late game. And Magic gonna try and sneak into Nakamura's base, but it's not gonna be super successful. Nakamura gonna creep forward with some more walls. More towers. Fortress here for Magic, so if you can get that off, he can really start pumping the siege units, which he's going to need now that both players have gone so heavily on static defense. Norse player really able to overwhelm that little ball of hoplites. And Nakamura has played this really defensively in the meanwhile. And Magic having to bring the villagers back and try and maybe get the fort inside the base. Because he needs to try and get some siege units out on the map, I believe. The Greek player can make great use of them to bring down the towers, but at the same time, trying to get them up here with the army just to be helpful for them. It's not really paying off for him at the moment. And Nakamura, a good number of ballista here, resources wise. Magic struggling a little bit for food behind this, but he's continuing to stay maxed. Nakamura the same with his wood. It's a lot of gatherers just for the one ox cart too. But hey, he's making it work quite well. And Medusa, once again, Magic with some really nice micro sniping the high value mythic units of the Norse player. But she is going to fall, and she is also quite high value herself. Bearing in mind she costs another 50 gold and 10 favour for the Greek player than a Frost Giant costs the Norse player. And scores are pretty close to level, but Magic gonna lose another aggressive fortress in pretty much the same spot as the last one. And Nakamura going to really be able to solidify his push. He's even managed to sneak in an off-sark. And Magic has got so many walls now. So he's seen Nakamura's base and said, well, 2 can play that game, buddy. I like this little wall off. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than stopping your opponent sending units through here. They can still sneak through here though. And be greeted by another 2 sets of walls. Forget the House of Mirrors, this is the House of Incomplete Wall-offs. Plenty of Ballista in reserve to back this push up, and Magic's fairly aggressive fort placement isn't paying off. The 3rd one's going to go down. He probably would have been better off to get 1 or 2 inside the walls here and really make use of Helepolis or Petropolis production, because he needs to get them out in the field, considering he and Nakamura are playing so wall intensive. Nakamura not a huge amount in the bank, but neither has Magic at this stage. Both players looking to push quite aggressively, but Nakamura is really the one with all the momentum on the field at the moment. I'm not sure if he's trying to bring down the wall or the town center, I suppose. He is in striking range, so he is going to try and chip away at it. Force the Greek player to have to focus down the Petropolis, focus down the Ballista, but Bellerophon goes 3-0. Going to back out as well. Impressive stuff for him. So just being able to leap into fights makes this guy quite valuable, but in saying that, Magic's now going to lose him. But not before getting plenty of value, because the Ballista, 300 resources each. If a hero that costs 400 resources snipes 3, well, they really have paid for themselves, haven't they? Nakamura probably needs to cancel this hill fort. He had one over here he needed to cancel for a lot of the game. But I like this. He's actually making this hard for his opponent to come through anywhere other than through the base, which is going to lose the wall off in a sec. And now the Ballista really focusing on the range, quite useful for Nakamura. He's using them now to clean up the melee. So bearing in mind, in positions like this, you don't necessarily have to have your Ballista focusing down every last chunk of wall. They can be quite valuable against groups of small, unmounted units, considering their smaller health pools, their smaller hitboxes. Going to take quite a bit of damage from a couple of Ballista volleys. And finally, Magic able to keep a fortress alive long enough to get a Helepolis out of it. So yeah, this time with a bit more safe positioning of his fortresses, is to really able to possibly repel the hill fort creep from Nakamura here. But Magic, nothing in the bank. Not a lot in the bank for Nakamura either. And we still have plenty of time left on the clock by the look of it. Nakamura is creeping ahead, 500 points ahead in score, but bearing in mind, this has gone quite late on for a deathmatch game. And both our players with a nice 160 pop right now. So this is a hard push forward for either player here. Plenty of static defense on both sides of the map. There's a lot of Ballista there for Nakamura, 5 of them, focusing down that tower. If he can manage to keep these down and maybe even take down this wall segment, he should be able to overwhelm the Tox ball, but Magic not overextending at all with his range units, bringing the Tox back. And he's really upped his production behind this. Helepolis is going to go down, but it's had a lot of Jarl attacking it in the meantime, keeping them out of the main fight. Magic bringing up Vils to try and get some towers up, and he's going to go for it. He might be able to get a Ballista or 2 here. Ooh, so he is going to force a bit of a dive back with the Ballista, and gets one with his villagers and his Hypaspis there. Well, the hill fort falls as well, so the Ballista now a little bit exposed. The 2 Helepolis going to be able to bring down the towers with ease if they both focus them. And right now, Magic buying himself a little bit of space on his doorstep. I thought he was nearly broke, but it looks as though he's turning the tables. Nakamura with not a lot of wood or food in the bank, only a little bit of gold. So our champions continuing to bring the smackdown on one another. There's such a big, beautiful map here, and we are just watching this little center, this little screen. And it is carnage. It is a bloodbath here. Ooh, and that wall is eventually going to go down. Only a couple more volleys. So the wall goes down. So Nakamura does give himself a bit more space to engage Magic's army at the moment, but Magic, good use of the Medusa, getting yet another Frost Giant with her. And this time he's brought her back nice and safe. Ooh, I think the Raider might actually be able to pick her off, so the Medusa does fall. That's a bit of a blow for Magic. She is a bit more expensive than these Frost Giants. But Bellerophon pretty much 3-shots these Ballista, so now Nakamura bleeding a lot of his army, just dropping 5 Ballista like that to the Bellerophon. Really nice use of him. Ooh, and Magic's even able to get him out there. Magic, wonderful stuff with Bellerophon. And with Medusa really able to snipe Nakamura's high value units, but high value units that aren't quite as high value as the Greek ones. And bearing in mind, Nakamura is taking a good fight aside from losing a couple of those siege there. This time Bellerophon going to pick off another Frost Giant, so we can pretty much make this the Bellerophon stream. He's so tanky and so mobile. Able to really bully the highest value units on the Norse team. 200 gold Frost Giants and the 150 gold, 150 wood Ballista, but bearing in mind Nakamura has now managed to pull Magic onto his doorstep. He is going to be able to kill a lot of these small units in support. The Ballista aren't going to be as susceptible to the dive from Bellerophon now. You're going to get another Frost Giant before he falls? No. But Magic's now really able to back this up with adding some more of these aggressive fortresses. But there is plenty of Ballista now, 5 Ballista for Nakamura. And he has still got that little score lead. But Magic's starting to chip away at some of the side walls here. Nakamura must pretty much be out of gold mines, eh? Other than this one down here, which you can't really take because of Magic's fortress. But now Nakamura is going to be able to clean this up, be able to reinforce. Bearing in mind there is another layer of war behind all this anyway. So we've got 7 Ballista here for Nakamura. Magic still seems to be able to make the game work for him because he's got Bellerophon out again. Really a wonderful unit diving the back line. Better nerf Aurelia. So Bellerophon versus both the mythic units and the Ballista. Going to be able to deny the Norse player from pushing here because bearing in mind his human units aren't quite as good as the Greek human units. And now Magic's managed to sneak a couple of the hoplites into his opponent's market line, but there is A couple of Huskarls and Throwing Axemen in tow. They're already damaged. Up to 9 ballista here for Nakamura. He's making this work with no gold in the bank now. Magic, meanwhile, struggling for food, but plenty of wood and gold at this stage. But both players going to need it because they've got a whole bunch of siege and a whole bunch of static defense that they're using to really keep themselves in this game. So these hoplites not really going to be able to get anything here. I think the single Huskarl must have been brought back because I didn't see one over here. Magic trying to distract Nakamura as long as he can with that hoplite. Not a lot of value left in him. This hill fort is going to go down, so well placed. Helpless there for Magic, but he's really caught in a choke where he doesn't have a lot of infantry left to defend against this big ball of Throwing Axemen and of Ballista. But here we go, Bellerophon going for the dive. He's going to focus the Frost Giant first. I would have thought Magic would have gone for the Ballista there. That's a lot of Helepolis now for the Greek player. The Frost Giants, as much as they are freezing some of the Helepolis, they're all going to fall to Bellerophon, and now he's going to be used to clean up the Ballista. Not much health left for him now though. So he falls. And so the Greek army going to start to struggle because all the Helepolis have gone down, Bellerophon's gone down. There's still a couple of Ballista in tow. Oh, a single hoplite really making the wall a bit of a pain in the ass here for Nakamura. The Ulfsark does out repair the single hoplite, I think. So a couple of hoplites having snuck into Nakamura's base, but I think the score's a bit telling. I think he's really started to pull away. He's gone the distance with the defense here. Even with so many Ballista being picked off, Magic is now really starting to lapse in score. He lost a lot of Helepolis, a lot of resources with that last push, because these guys have 500 resources a pop. The Greek players don't want to mess around with these things, as tanky as they are. Ballista cost almost half as much. It's another Helepolis falling there. So the Norse players managed to keep the Zeus player from really playing around the god strength, the hoplites. It's been working wonders. The wall-ups secure once again. Some more hill forts, another temple in tow as well. So Nakamura wants to get very aggressive with his Frost Giant production here. And Magic, I think, is just starting to struggle for eco. Nakamura is slightly banking slightly a little bit more than him at the moment. Both players starting to really run out of resources that are safe at home. Idlers there for Magic, which is not great for him while he's taking this fight. So this fight is going well for Magic. I think he's really denying the hill forts from going up. He's got a good range ball here. Now he's lost a lot of his front line position, so he's going to have to bring the range back a bit. Doing so well. Fighting under his own static defense now. But there is a lot of Ballista and Frost Giants once again for Nakamura. Bellerophon hitting the field. Once again, this guy has been invaluable for Magic so far. This time focusing down all the Ballista first. Really forcing Nakamura to have to invest in them. But look at his wood in the bank. He's really only struggling for gold at the moment. And he's actually... looks as though he's going to switch to ram production somewhere. So Nakamura with a nice score lead of about 1.6, 1.4k at the moment. And he is going to start adding some rams. Maybe going to get 2 or 3 before he pushes the fort first. Because Magic is now regathered and really able to start sniping Ballista, sniping Frost Giants with Bellerophon. Every time Bellerophon's out in the field, Magic's able to push forward a little bit in the mid-map. Every time he dies, Nakamura is able to shove forward into the fortresses of the Greek player. And now it looks as though he's readying up to just get a good number of rams before he engages. He's got 3 rams and a couple of Huskars. He's going to try and take down Magic's fortress, and there is a little bit of a way in here possibly. Oh, Bellerophon getting dangerously low. And he's going to come back to try and deal with this army, because I think he might do a bit of good damage to the rams as well. So I don't know if the fortress is gonna fall here, because we've only got the 2 rams left. No, the fortress should be safe through all this, and in the meanwhile Bellerophon hasn't fallen just yet, so he's gonna come back into the fight, try and pick up 1 more Ballista before he goes down. This guy has really been what's keeping Magic in the game here in terms of army cost efficiency, I think. And finally Bellerophon falls, doesn't manage to get the Ballista. Magic having to try and wall up once again. What's going to happen, guys? We are nearly finished here. And Nakamura is actually really nowhere near as far ahead as he was. The ram push not very successful. And he's dry for gold. Magic has a nice even spread of resources in the bank, and Nakamura is struggling to maintain production through all this, I think. No, he should be okay. He just has so many walls it's impossible to break into his base. One player has been the gold standard of DM for so many years. We can see why. And GG. Nakamura actually ends up having to tap out because he just doesn't have the gold in the end. Magic manages to persevere and wins the game.